YouTube live stream. Panjatapa Prabhu, are you able to read the next verse? 1388.
$13.88. Adi 1388. Nilambara Chakravarti Kahila Gorniya Hemase Putrahabe Shuvakshana Paya. Nilambara Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, then did an astrological calculation and said that in that very month, taking advantage of an auspicious moment, the child would take birth. Any comments? Chodda Shatak Shake Masiye Falgun Aunamasir Sanjakale Haila Shubakshan. Thus, in the year 1407 of the Shaka era, Anno Domini 1486, in the month of Falgun, February-March, in the evening of the full moon day, the desired auspicious moment arrived. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, has presented the horoscope of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. And here we have what I can't possibly explain. The explanation of the horoscope given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur is that at the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the planets were situated as follows. Shukra, or Venus, was in the Mesha Rashi, Aries, and the nakshatra, or lunar mansion, of Ashvini. Ketu, the ninth planet, was in Singha Rashi, or Leo, and the Uttara Falguni. Chandra, the moon, was in Purva Palguni, the 11th lunar mansion. Shani, or Saturn, was in Vrishchika Rashi, Scorpio, and Jeshta. Brihaspati, Jupiter, was in Dhanu Rashi, or Sagittarius, and Purvashadha. Mangala, or Mars, was in Makara Rashi, Capricorn, and Shravana. Ravi, the sun, was in Kumbha Rashi, Aquarius, and Purva Bhadrapad. Rahu was in Purva Bhadrapad, and Buddha, Mercury, was in Meena Rashi, Pisces, and Uttara Bhadrapad. The Lagna was Singha. And as a footnote for the chart that's given in the purport, there's some further explanation of the chart. The line of numbers labeled Shaka defines the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. 1,407 years of the Shaka era had passed. It was the 1408th year. 10 months of that year had passed. It was the 11th month, Falgun. 22 days of Falgun had passed. It was the 23rd day. 28 gatis, 11 hours and 12 minutes, and 45 palas, or 18 minutes, had passed since sunrise. It was just after sunset. The square of numbers gives further astrological information concerning the time of the Lord's birth. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Guru Jayādvaita Swami Niti Namine Om Ajnana Taranda Shagananjana Salakaya Chakshum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Of course, I can't claim to know much about these calculations, but one can understand from this type of information that, you know, even an outsider can see, oh, we're dealing with a very sophisticated culture here. We're not, as the British Indologists try to suggest, dealing with people that are practically on the level of heathens. or something that's so backward, it should be dismissed outright as being an impractical, superstitious, backwards, practically uncivilized society. This is very elevated society, and it has very elevated culture. Anyway, so these things are given here. Just you get a flavor of this just from the exactitude and the calculation of Lord Chaitanya's astrological chart. Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, would you like to say something?
Lagna is the rising sign, so the Lagna was Leo. And the rest, I don't need to comment on. Yeah, I'm nothing further today. Sir?
What was Bhaktivinoda Thakur trying to get across, showing the astrological signs of Mahaprabhu?
What was he trying to get across? Well, this is information. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't belong to this material world. So in that sense, the astrology is of no consequence. But Kaviraj Goswami says, or Nilambar Chakravarti said that he'd appear at an auspicious time. So this is giving you the specific information. And those who are expert at astrology, they will appreciate the qualities of this chart. Just as we hear that Krishna appeared as the son of such and such in such and such place, and so on. So this is also a detail of how he appeared in such and such situation of the cosmos, with such and such stars prominent. And those who don't know astrology will say, yeah, well, batch of numbers doesn't really mean anything to me. But a person who can read it will look and say, oh, this and that. And it also gives some, what would you say, hints of the Lord's characteristics. In this case, in our case, we appear when we have to. And so we may have whatever qualities are given to us, but the Lord chooses his own situation. So everything about Krishna is auspicious: his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, his astrological chart, the place where he appears. It's all of interest to the devotees. You know, the materialists, they're interested, oh, what's Donald Trump's chart, you know, and what's his rising sign, what period is he in? We don't care, but we're interested in Krishna's astrological chart or in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We don't care about war, but when Krishna's involved. So then how many divisions of soldiers were there? What kind of weapons were they equipped with? Who were the generals? Why do we care about a war? But because Krishna's there, we're interested in all of these things. And that's the difference. There's some verse where the sages say in Bhagavatam, please tell us about this, if it's related to the pastimes of Krishna. You were curious about something, please tell us about this, if it's related to Krishna. And that's the criterion. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we're on text 90 now. Vadesha Prabhu, are you available?
I can read it. Singha Rashi Singha Lagna Ucha Graha Gun Shad Varga Ashtavarga Sarva Sulakam. According to the Jyotirveda, or Vedic astrology, the auspicious birth moment is described as follows. The moon was in Leo, the figure of the lion in the zodiac. Leo was the ascendant. Several planets were strongly positioned, and the Shadvarga and Ashtavarga showed all auspicious influences. Shadvarga and Ashtavarga, as far as I understand, are different ways of looking at one's astrological chart. Just a different lens, sort of. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was previously a great astrologer, explains this verse as follows. The Shadvarga, 6 divisions, are technically called Kshetra, Hoda, Drekana, Navangsha, Dvadashangsha, and Tringshamsha. According to Jyotir Vedic astrology, when the relationship between the planets and the rulers of these 6 divisions is determined, the auspiciousness of the moment of birth can be calculated. In the book named Brihad Jataka and other books, there are directions for interpreting the movements of the stars and planets. One who knows the process of calculating the Ashtavarga, 8 divisions, can predict auspicious and inauspicious events. This science is known especially by persons who are called Hoda Shastrabit, or those who know the astrological scriptures. On the strength of astrological calculations from the Hoda scriptures, Nilambar Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, had ascertained the auspicious moment when the Lord would appear. This reminds me that I just saw the other day some letter, someone devotee was asking, should he learn astrology? Prabhupada said, don't waste your time. He said, we're not concerned. But there is an interest in contexts like this. Akalanka Goda Chandra, Lila Dorashan, Shakalanka Chandre Ar Kon Prayojan. When the spotless moon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became visible, what would be the need? What would be the need for a moon full of black marks on its body? Eta Jani Rahu Koila, Chandrer Grohan, Krishna Krishna Hari Name Pashe Tribhuvan. Considering this, Rahu, the black planet, covered the full moon, and immediately vibrations of Krishna, Krishna, Hari inundated the 3 worlds. Purport. According to the Jyotir Veda, a lunar eclipse takes place when the Rahu planet comes in front of the full moon. It is customary in India that all the followers of the Vedic scriptures bathe in the Ganges or the sea as soon as there is a lunar or solar eclipse. All strict followers of the Vedic religion stand up in the water throughout the whole period of the eclipse and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. At the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a lunar eclipse took place, and naturally, all the people standing in the water were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there are 2 things here. One is that the moon was eclipsed because Rahu thought when the full moon is appearing in the form of Chaitanya Chandra, what is the need of a moon full of black marks on its body? The moon has, a man in the moon or what have you, so it has spots on it. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is spotless, so we don't need this other moon. We can eclipse it. Elsewhere, I think it's poetically said that the moon was embarrassed, having spots on it, so it went into eclipse. So that was one thing. And the other is, since there was an eclipse, everyone was chanting Hare Krishna. So this was appropriate for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. That was a foreshadowing of his future mission. Okay.
We have some things in the chat. Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, the amount of, sorry, this amount of detail also ensures that in thousands of years' time, the exact time and date of the Lord's appearance is fixed by a universal calendar, independent of man-made calendars.
It's exact. He appeared at such and such moment. Check it by the stars.
Sudarshan Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. What role does astrology play for practicing devotees? Should devotees consult for major significant events in life to avoid complete uncertainties of life? What was Prabhupada's approach? We see few sections of Srimad Bhagavatam, like Maharaj Parikshit, Prithu Maharaj, astrological predictions, etc.
Well, in my experience, Prabhupada didn't give importance to astrology, or, by the way, Vastu. He established temples without any consideration of Vastu. He did things without consideration of astrology. At one point, our Pradumna Prabhu acquired the Navadvip Panjika, which has various indications according to astrological science. At such and such time on this date, you shouldn't travel north. At such and such time, on this other date, you shouldn't travel south. On such and such date, you shouldn't travel at all. On such and such date, it's a good date for this or that. And Prabhupada said, if you go by that, you can't do anything. So he didn't give it much importance. In his last days, Prabhupada did consult the astrologers, several of them who gave conflicting opinions. One of which was proved correct, the rest of which were not. And Prabhupada would hear them, the predictions. Sometimes he would say, let's have some fun. And he would hear, or he would just ask, so what do they say? And I remember, on such and such, this date will be difficult. If the native survives to this date, this, that, on this, then so today, for this date, the native should be protected by mantras. Mantras. And Prabhupada would call for kirtan. So he didn't do any of the things that they said to do, wear this color of stone or do this or do that or chant, what is it, Mrityunjaya mantras or something. Everything was just an indication for kirtan. Amala Harinam Ami Abhilash. That was Prabhupada's approach. But he did seem to take an interest in terms of having some understanding of what to expect in that circumstance in his last days. That was the only marriages. He didn't seem to give any attention to astrology, never directed the disciples, so you should check the astrological chart. Just practically didn't use it. That's what we saw. But in Bhagavatam, when in his purports, he does speak of astrology, speaks of it being a science. He speaks of contexts in which it was used. And that's what we see. And I already quoted the Prabhupada said, don't waste your time when some devotee wanted to study it. Now that apart, it's still used traditionally, especially in marriages, where I guess things are bad enough as it is. So astrology is used to give some idea of compatibility in particular. It was used for determining auspicious times of sacrifices, although Prabhupada didn't give any attention to that. Probably marriages more than anything else is where we still find astrology employed in Vedic culture. Hare Krishna.
Bishop Prabhu, would you like to read the next verse?
Let me just look at the question again and see. You asked what Prabhupada's approach was. And yeah, devotees can decide to what extent they want to employ astrology. Prabhupada just didn't use it very, very much just in those last days. Hare Krishna.
Some comments and questions in the chat. Sudarshan Prabhu writes, thank you, Maharaj. Praveen Krishna Prabhu writes, a devotee shared with me, just as you are using medicines to cure your diseases, so does astrology cure your bad influences so that you can function properly in bhakti. As long as you are in bodily consciousness, astrology is required as much as medicines. That was all in quotations.
Yeah, Prabhupada didn't give much attention to medicine either, but he sometimes used it. Again, how much attention do we want to give? Their devotees, they're always busy with medicine and so many things for the body. And there are other devotees, they don't give any attention at all. And there are those who are in between. Yeah. So yes, it has to do with this material world. Prabhupada himself didn't travel on Thursday afternoons. He adhered to that. That's a kind of a tradition that Thursday afternoons are considered inauspicious for travel. So he avoided Thursday afternoons.
Mary Gupta Prabhu writes, it's something of a tradition here in Mayapur. Yeah. For us not to travel on Thursday if possible, and if you have to put your shoes outside the night before. I heard that came from Prabhupada.
Yes.
Achatapa Prabhu writes, an astrologer did a horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a specific prediction. When this child reached the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. From Srila Prabhupada, Lilamrita.
I'm reminded also that in Los Angeles, we found Prabhupada's handwritten prayers from the Jayādvaita, and we brought copies to Prabhupada. He was sitting in his room. I brought the copies, or the papers. Somebody had found them in a trunk or something. And Prabhupada looked, and he said, did you find one scroll also? And I said, no one had found a scroll. What was that? Prabhupada said, that was my horoscope. So he had that much interest, but it wasn't found.
Stop astrology or medicine but he requested prayers big time when he got sick.
Yes, he didn't give so much attention to medicine or astrology, although he did take medicine. And he sometimes used astrology. But yes, he gave so much attention to prayers and kirtan. In his last days, that was the Bhavosadat Shrotamano Viramat. This is the cure for birth and death, the holy name of the Lord. So that was very prominent. When there was some consideration of something that might be done by rituals, Garbhadan Sanskara or initiation of deities, this, that, rituals, Prabhupada, Harinam. So much importance to Harinam. And in his last months, that was the main thing. He had us chant Hare Krishna around the clock, whenever there wasn't something going on in his room, and he would call for us to have kirtan. So great emphasis on Harinam. Kadamba Maharaj also in his last days, last months, consulted an astrologer who turned out to be quite good. And to find out, what to expect. And the astrologer, he explains to the astrologer in the beginning that I'm not looking to counteract anything. I just want to know what to expect. As a manager, he wanted to manage that also. So several times during that session, the astrologer volunteered, I can do this yagya or that yagya. I won't charge anything. And Maharaj said, no, I'm not looking. And finally he said, all right, I'll think about it. Which was a polite way of sidestepping the matter. He wasn't interested in counteracting anything. Just, all right, what do we expect? And it turned out quite accurate. Hare Krishna.
Desha Prabhu. Oh, another thing in chat. Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, what was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's interest in astrology? Or was it only astronomy?
No, astrology. Astronomy, he must have had an interest also. But Prabhupada said he was a great astrologer before he focused on his work of spreading Krishna consciousness. He'd been learned in many topics, and so he was known as a learned astrologer. And he'd written a commentary also on Surya Siddhanta. So he, all of these topics he was learned in, well versed in. Yeah, I won't say more about it. Where shall we go?
Nothing more. Oh, yep. Sudarshan Prabhu writes, Prabhupada mentioned to one of his disciples regarding astrology, if you know it is going to rain, carry an umbrella.
Yeah, that's all. Who's reading?
Desha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Text 93. Jaya Jaya Dhvani Hoila Sakala Bhuvana Chamatkara Hoya Loka Bhave Mane Mana. All people thus chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra during the lunar eclipse, and their minds were struck with wonder. Jagat Bhariya Loka Bale Hari Hari Sekhane Kore Krishna Bhumi Avatari. When the whole world was thus chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in the form of Gaura Hari. Oh, When the whole world was thus chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in the form of Gaur Hari, advented himself on the earth. Prasanna hoila saba jagatera mana, Hari bali hindu ke hasya kare ye yavana. The whole world was pleased. While the Hindus chanted the holy name of the Lord, the non-Hindus, especially the Mohammedans, jokingly imitated the words. Although the Mohammedans or non-Hindus have no interest in chanting the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, while the Hindus in Navadvip chanted during the lunar eclipse of the Mohammedans also imitated them. Thus the Hindus and Mohammedans joined together in chanting the holy name of the Lord when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu advented himself. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayādvaita Swami Niti Namane. So anyone who's chanting, even if you're imitating or even mocking, benefit is there. Of course, even Narada Muni instructed Valmiki to chant the word death, maram, maram, maram. So however we're chanting, one devotee even looked at the trucks that have the name Ram, and he said, oh, they're also chanting Ram, Ram. So the Mohammedans joined in the kirtan, imitating the Hindus. All of the Lord's pastimes are so pleasing. The verse that I got my second son's name from in Caitanya Caritamrita, one of the lines says, Shilam Sarvajananuranjanam Aho Yasyayam Asmat Prabhur. That all of the Lord's activities are very pleasing to everybody. Everybody is very pleased by his behavior. And so here it says, the whole world was pleased. Prasanna hoila sabba jagatera. The whole world is pleased. That's the glory of the Lord's appearance, and that everyone unites. Srila Prabhupada called Mayapur the real United Nations. You see people from so many different backgrounds. They're all joining together. Everyone's chanting. I have one question, if I may, Maharaj. We hear that the word Hindu doesn't appear in any of the Shastras, and of course, Caitanya Caritamrita among our literatures is a more contemporary work. That is, it's not 5,000 years old, but still, I was surprised to see Hinduke in the Bengali. Do you have anything that I could understand from that? Because I've always heard that it's just south of the Sindhu River are called Hindus. And yeah.
In Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll find it many times. The Hindu word is there. It means that this was a known designation at that time. What's the word? Distinguishing the followers of Vedic culture from the followers of Muslim culture. This term was there, Hindu, and it was conventionally used. In the Vedas and the Puranas and so on, we don't find it, which means it's not original. But at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it was already current, and so it's used here. And of course, we use it today, but we sort of say, well, we're not really Hindus, and then sometimes we say, yes, we're Hindus. So we go back and forth about it according to convenience, it seems. But yes, according to convenience. But it is used. It's like so many other words, it's conventional. Who are these people? Well, they're the Hindus, they're the Muslims.
Krishna Prabhu writes, Sankityam Parihasyam Va Stobam Elanam Evava Akunta Nama Rahanam Asasaga Ram Viduhu. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures.
Now that I'm thinking about it, during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Muslim rule was in place. So this was certainly a marker, a social marker. Who's Hindu, who's Muslim. These matters were significant, of course, in social life at that time. We find that Rup Sanatan were excluded from the Hindu society because of their taking service in the Muslim government. So very much there's a Hindu, you could write lots of doctoral theses on this. There's certainly a prominent Hindu-Muslim dynamic in place at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. And so it comes up in Chaitanya Caritamrita in many contexts. Haridas Thakur is not a Hindu. He's a Muslim. So that becomes a topic in Chaitanya Caritamrita. The Muslims are generally considered, by the Hindus, to be of a lower status on account of especially their meat eating. So Haridas Thakur would have been, according to Vedic culture, an outcast. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made him Namacharya. Doesn't matter what his family heritage is, he's the most exalted devotee of the name. So all of this is part of the background, the social context of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's the pastime of gaining the cooperation of the Muslim Kashi. So all of these things are current at that time. Just as in Prabhupada's time, so American culture, the hippie movement, all of these things become socially relevant as the background. Transcendentally, Prabhupada's teaching eternal truth and the eternal process of going back to Godhead. But it's against the background of the society of the times, and the society of the time. So we hear about various aspects of what was going on. So Chaitanya Caritamrita also, and quite prominently, there's this Hindu-Muslim dynamic. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to stop for kirtan. What do you think, Maharaj? Since I'm new to hosting, I thought I would ask.
Always a good time for kirtan, but yes.
Okay. Hey, Radesha, are you able to lead kirtan?
Okay.
I'm just gonna sing what I was just singing now.
Yes, please. My wife is coming. She said that whenever we're asked for kirtan, she's happy to participate in that service. I don't know how to turn on original sound, so cartels won't be heard. No, I don't know how to do it. They changed the Zoom settings, so just a cappella.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribo.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Shatashishama Bhakti Vedanta Maharaj Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Shatashishama Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveda Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.
Haribo.
Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. Panchatattva Prabhu. And thank you to all. Hare Krishna. And we look forward to seeing you on Monday. Hare Krishna.